All right, chapter 2. We're going to go over the concepts of technology, and I just kind of want to have you understand what it does, what goes into creating new technology. Think about something. It can be anything, product, machine, a clothing, whatever it is. I want you to think about it and try to think of what it is you need to create that technology. So I'm going to pick computer. Okay, we want to create a computer. What goes into it? Are there people going around creating or using to make the machine? Yeah, you might have robots. So you still got to program the robots. You still got people to assemble, package, and so on. Okay, let's think about more things that we need. Well, what's it made out of? Metal. Got some metal pieces. There's plastic pieces. There's all kinds of pieces that go inside of it. So we need some type of material. Well, how are you going to know how to create it? So you got to be informed. You need the information, the knowledge behind it. So we have what we call information. You have to have it. Okay. We need some place to do it. Okay? A building of some sort. So I mean, you can't do it. I mean, there's always space. So that space is what we call capital. Things that you own, the money it takes, all that is called capital. So everything takes time. So we got to have some time to do things. I know when we look at a computer, it's going to take multiple days to make a computer. Unless you're people like Apple, they probably put more than one out in several hours. Okay, so they're pretty quick at it. Okay, we also need some energy, even if it's just your energy coming from your body. If you're using your own physical muscle, that's still energy. We still got to use energy. We use electricity. Think about the computer. We're using electricity probably to power the building that we're in, also to power the machines that we're using to create it. We need tools. You cannot mold the computer with your bare hands. If you could, it'd still be, your hands would be the tool. Okay, so there's 7 resources that we need. People, information, tools and machines, capital, time, materials, and energy. Those are the 7 resources that we use to create any technology. You cannot have one gone in the equation. Okay, all of these 7 resources are always present. Okay, I want to talk about systems and subsystems. It's very easy to think about them as the stereo system. Pretty easy to understand what it is. Stereo system, we have the player, we have the speakers, we have the wires, we have the CD that plays the music. So what it is a system is everything working together, or a subsystem working together. So we have, think about the school system. There are many parts that make up the school system. Teachers, students, principals, parents, custodial staff, cooks, you name it. You can keep going on and on. They all make up the system of the school. Now the subsystem is all those little parts that make up the system. So if we went back to the school, we have the school system. The subsystems would be teachers, the students, the parents, the administrators, and so on. Each of those are the subsystems. So a system is made up of parts that work together to complete the task, whereas a subsystem is the smaller system within the system. Okay, so pretty easy to look at. Think of the computer again. We have a computer system. The subsystems of it would be the mouse, the keyboard, the monitor, the tower, etc. Okay, we categorize the systems that we just talked about into 2 groups. An open loop system, which if you look at it, we have input, which is the 7 resources. We process, which is the act of making things, and then the output, whatever comes out. Now, the open loop system has no way to measure or control the output. Think of this. When you're barbecuing out back of your house and you put charcoal in it, Charcoal, when you light it on fire, has smoke. It has fumes. It has pollution coming out of it. You cannot control that form of output. When you burn wood, we have ashes. We have smoke. Again, the output is undesired. You cannot control it. So most of the time, an open loop system is not the one we're shooting for because you can't control it. The closed loop system has what we call feedback and helps control the output. For example, you see there's input, which is the 7 resources. We're going to skip the compare and adjust just for a second. It goes to the process. So let's say we're making the computer. We're in the processes. You're actually doing all the physical work to create the product, which is the output of the computer. So the output is always, for the most part, your desired product. Now, if the product did not work well, and somebody called and complained that the computer only lasted for, let's say, a month, that is feedback. Then you're going to come back, compare what's going on, adjust your system, and recreate it. And hopefully the second time around it's better. So feedback can be all kinds of things. It could be your process not working like you want it to, so you go back and try to fix things. But it's just a way to make your product better. Now let's look at this. Mustard flavored candy. $75 for a 1-ounce bag. Beautiful colors. It looks great. Yum. Okay, what do you think of? What's your concerns about this? First, I would say mustard. Obviously, I can't stand mustard, so that's what I'm looking at. Does it look good? Second, is it the price good? $75 for a 1-ounce bag, really? I would probably not even think about it. Now, if it's 75 cents and I love mustard, maybe. But mustard is really not something you think of in the form of candy. So I would also look, is this going to be safe for me to eat? Okay, so there's plenty of things we want to look at. Is it safe? Is it very attractive? Because if it doesn't look attractive, more than likely I probably won't buy it. Is it useful? I hope what we're paying good money for is useful for whatever I want it for, whatever I'm using it for. Is it going to be reliable? Am I going to buy something and it break down like the computer did in my last slide within a month? Again, sometimes you hear this, you pay or you get what you pay for. Okay, so if you pay a really top dollar for something, it might last forever. Now, if you pay nothing for, let's say, a watch, you pay $5, it's going to last you $5 worth. But every once in a while, you'll get something that lasts a long time. Is a reasonable price. Make sure it's going to be worth the money. Criterion constraints. These are the two things we look at when we start building something. Requirements and specifications. For example, a computer, let's say the specifications, I want it to be 23 inches tall by 24 inches wide. It needs to be no bigger than 1 inch thick. That's a criteria. Okay. Now, if it's a constraint, that means you are limited to. For example, if your parents constrain you to your room, in other words, grounded, you are limited only to that area. If we are only limited to our resources of metal, that means everything we make has to be made out of metal. Okay, so we gotta, those two are they kind of go hand in hand. We usually talk about criteria and constraints together because they're kind of similar. One's your limits and one's are what the required task is calling for. Now, why should price be considered? Well, let's think about it. Not everybody can afford to go out and buy a Lexus or a Hummer, but they still make them. But also, not everybody goes around driving what I drive, a little Ford Ranger. They don't, I mean, there's things about it. There's some cheap cars, there's some expensive cars. So what we need to think about is how to optimize your system to get the best product. no matter if it costs a lot or if it costs little. We want to make sure we're making the best product that we can for as cheap as we can, so as an owner, I can make money. Now, there's trade-offs in the business, and trade-off is basically I'm going to give up something to gain something. For example, when we create a house, we run the wires with copper wires. Is that the best conductor? No. Gold is. But the trade-off is copper works really well, and it's cheap compared to gold, which works the best, which we don't need all the conductivity of gold compared to the copper. Okay, to maintain our performance, and most of you know this, but you have to change your oil in your car every 3 months or 3,000 miles. Okay, if we don't do that, our cars would probably break sooner. We'd have to maintain them, or we have to replace them. But if we maintain them, it'll run forever. Again, my Blue Ranger, it's got over 250,000 miles. I've had it since I was 18. It's around, and I haven't really done anything to it except for change the oil every 3,000 miles. Now, last question before we stop. Should we create new technology if it has a negative impact? Think about this one, because this one's a debatable question. Everybody's going to say either no or yes. If you say no, I want you to think about this. What about the cell phone? It's got great positive things that we can do, but what's a negative thing? If you hop in the car, you're texting and driving, you can wreck, kill someone. That's negative. There's a lot of scenarios that we create a lot of things. We created the car, has pollution. We created the car, people wreck in it, die. So should we stop creating those new things? Probably not. But so what we're teaching you is so you know how to be literate and how to weigh one against the other, how to make sure that we're doing something for the good, and all the negative things we can try to fix later. For example, the car and wrecks, we added airbags, etc. Well, I hope you learned something. We'll come back into class and talk about it. Have a good day.